you are and if you're associated with a group or organization, what that is, and maybe your affiliation with that. We're gonna start with Andrew Parsons.
Okay, good morning. Wow, I didn't realize this was so good. This is my first time coming. I'm with Community Health at the Whole Center. I oversee all the school-based clinics within Peoria Public Schools. So we're in Peoria Manual, Peoria High, and Tree-Wed, but we cover all the students of Peoria Public Schools, as well as East Peoria 86 and Union 108. And then, as you know, if you're from Peoria, the Whole Center for Health Education is where I spend the bulk of my time as well for health education. Depending on how old you are, you may have visited as a child. Depending on how old you are, your children may be visitors. So, here I am. I'm excited to be here and learn what this is all about.
Wonderful. Yes.
So, my name is Sarah Peterson. I am a nurse practitioner with Unity Point, working in Andrea, and my main school is at Tree-Wed School.
Wonderful. Is Sarah? You say Sarah Peterson. Wonderful. Who are you? Oh, yes.
I'm Christian McKinney. I am the Health and Policy Coordinator with Peoria City County.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here. Christian.
Is day 5 for him.
Oh, well, welcome. Happy to have you here. Yes.
So this is my first time to this meeting, and what I do is I work with partners in the community to help with resources for our families, and I also work on grants and programs, applications to bring more programs to the Peoria Housing Authority to serve our residents.
Welcome. And how long have you been there?
I've been 18 months.
Okay, wonderful. We're happy to have you here.
I didn't get her name. Venus, like the planet of the principal.
And who else we have for the first time? Yes, sir.
My name is Thomas King. I represent Disability Transportation, provide safe transportation to and from medical appointments around the Peoria area. My deepest concern is the south side of Peoria. You know, we have a lot of issues going on in that area, and we want to work with this group and allow them to try to promote the change that will.
Excellent. Well, you'll learn that that's our focus and our initial strategy is the south side as well as the pure violence, the East Bluff hotspot. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Pollard. I'm with the Peoria Housing Authority, Senior Director of Operations. Originally a Peoria native, left with Texas, and I'm back. This is like day half of me. I'm following.
Welcome back, Rachel. Glad you came back. Anybody else for the first time? Yes.
I'm Stephanie Lowry. I'm the Youth Services Coordinator with Goodwill. I'm just starting on the next one, and will be in the Revive program that is focusing on mental health.
Wonderful. So thank you for being here. It's all about the network. It's all about the networking. It's all about making referrals and wrapping supports around the individuals that we want to serve. So we'll share more information with those who are new. Our agenda today is very full. We're going to go all the way to 10:30. We have some guests here today from out of state. We also want to start with announcements, and then we'll get an update on, are we doing pure violence update too, or?
Just that we are starting the evaluation process.
Okay, on the application. The deadline has passed, and now you're starting to evaluate proposals. Okay, all right. And then we'll hear from Mr. Mashawn and get a police update, and then we'll be introduced to our guests. So announcements, in the announcements, we're gonna start there. We won't have time to get it. All right, Jonathan?
Yeah. So about, how long have we been doing this, man?
18 months.
A year and a half ago, we all talked about some of the things that we wanted to implement to try to make the community a better place. And as with anything, it takes a while to get things up and going. So, I presented a presentation that talked about changing that narrative and using the media in ways that they've used it for other things, but never in our community. For example, when it came to COVID and the vaccination, in order for half of the world's population to take that vaccination, they had to do a massive media and marketing campaign. And so I said, what we need to do is to take that awesome tool and point it inward into our community. And so we went on further to write a grant with the R3 program entitled Change That Narrative. We were able to secure that grant, and part of that grant is what I put on everybody's table. So we got 2 postcards on the table, you can see them. We got 15,000 of each one of these postcards printed. The first 15,000 has just went out in 3 different area codes. The next 15,000 will go out in 2 weeks. And then every 2 weeks, we're gonna do a different 15,000 postcards. And all it is just a drip, drip, drip of trying to inject the way we think the community has to start manifesting its thoughts and being better. The brochure here talks about change that narrative. In addition to these postcards, what we're also doing is we're doing TV commercials, we're doing radio ads, we're doing social media, and I'm gonna actually play the first ad that we're gonna have coming up on radio real soon. I don't know how loud this speaker will be, but hopefully you all will hear it. And what we're trying to do is with all of the ads and all of the different formats, we're trying to tie them together. So if you see a postcard, then you see a billboard, and then you see a mural, and then you see on Facebook, you know, it starts to register with you. And we just, and one way that all of you all can help is when you see these cards, you see the direction that we're going in, you may have a thought that you think would be very compelling. Shoot it to us. I'm gonna use Terry, I'm gonna use other people in the community like I'd use myself with positive quotes to send in ways to challenge the community to be better, do better. And real quick. Hello? No, it's just on my phone. It's just a radio ad that we're coming out with. So this will be the first one that we come up with.
ChangeThatNarrative.org. There are no winners in a race at a bottom. How can you say that you care about your community? All you pour into your community is hate. Selling poison to your community is hate. Shooting up your community is hate. Robbing your community is hate. It's impossible for you to think that you're a good person when you're doing those things. When I finally realized that me and my friends were destroying the community, I changed me and my friends. ChangeThatNarrative.org. Together we can keep our community safe.
Good job, Jonathan.
Thank you. And if anybody has any ideas or inputs that you want to add to it, if you're a part of a larger corporation and you think you all want to get involved, please feel free to reach out. And if you don't, we'll be reaching out to you anyway.
Other announcements. Pastor Hubbard wanted me to share with you that St. Paul is sponsoring a mental health summit. I think it's scheduled for April the 29th, but the registrations are due by sometime this month in March. It's going to be dynamic speaker. I encourage everybody to participate, but you do have to register. So Donna is going to send out an email to everyone to give you more information and the registration link. Okay. All right, Mr. Michon, it's all yours.
All right, good morning. We're going to start out with going over our stats from our last meeting to now, so that would be February 11th to this morning. When we look at the amount of shot spotter alerts and the rounds fired, so you see we're up significantly in alerts and rounds fired. I want to make something clear on this. So we've had an increase in some fully automatic weapon fire. So last week we had 70 rounds fired in one incident. We do have one of those weapons in custody now. We're waiting for the results on that, but it's looking like that weapon's going to come back and account for almost 100 of these rounds. So one of those fully automatic weapons has already been taken off the street and significantly will drop that weapon. So this is where we go and we say, why do we use ShotSpotter and how do we use that to tie in with some of our other investigative tools? This is one of the way we use it, is we see all these high capacity rounds being alerted, and we start investigating, tying them together, and we believe that, again, that this one weapon contributes to almost 100 of those rounds, which would drop that significantly. So instead of 107% increase, we'd actually only be looking at about a 40% increase. So that is the effect that this one fully automatic weapon can have during this time frame. Looking at shooting incidents, we did have quite a number of shooting incidents. We had 7 incidents with 7 victims. We did have 1 homicide by gunshot with a total of 2 homicides. The other was a stabbing. We did recover 21 weapons, and 4 of them were stolen. I know that looks like it's down, but when we look at the next slide, when we look at the year total, so year total, that weapon's, it's actually this side, so year total, we actually recovered more weapons this year than last year, year to date, and we've recovered 10 stolen weapons. And for the first about 8 weeks of the year, that's a lot of stolen weapons to be taken off the street. That doesn't include that we've also recovered 3 ghost guns as well. And then, like I said last time, the amount of switches that we've also taken off the street is huge as well. So when we look at last year compared to now, we're still up 114% in shooting incidents and 67% in gunshot victims. But we are down 33% in shooting murders and 40% in all homicides compared to last year. We've done 2 directed patrols this year and taken about almost $3,000 in cash. Another important stat there is that 17 arrests with 76.4 grams of drugs. We've seized 1 weapon. We've stopped 97 vehicles, impounded 9, and written 34 tickets. We are down motor vehicle thefts. We had 107 in January. We've had 105 so far. I do want to say one thing that we're doing that we have been working really closely on identifying a group of individuals that are taking a lot of these, and we actually have, and we've identified, and we actually know kind of the area and where they're dropping those vehicles off. So we are making huge progress in identifying that trend, when and where, and we actually get ready to push that data out to the public as well, so those people in those areas know, what areas people are being stolen from, what time of day, and what to watch out for. Tip 4.1, we talked last time we were down, but with crime increasing, we haven't seen even more tips. So again, we've had 13 in the last week, 37 in the last month, and we've had 70 tips this year. That's a big increase, but as I said last time when we said we didn't have that many alerts, crime is low, more shooting incidents. Tip 411 is continuing to be utilized, which is a good thing that we saw from last year. It's a heavily utilized system for us. Before I introduce our guests, are there any questions on that for me?
Just 2 things. One, I noticed in one of the reports this week with the stolen vehicle that crashed on Maynard University, there were 2 13-year-olds, 1 12-year-old, and 1 18-year-old. So we're talking about young kids.
10-year-old, man.
Getting younger and
10,
younger.
12, and 13, 18.
10.
It was a 10-year-old.
10.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
They didn't report that.
It was a 10-year-old.
10, 12,
13,
13,
18.
and 18. Okay.
Yes.
That's even worse.
Yes, yes,
Was all those African American kids?
yes. And it was a carjacking.
The second thing, before you go to introduce our guests, we always start with prayer, and I goose. Pastor Parks, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Father, we come to you, say thank you for this day, this time, and this opportunity. Now we ask for your presence to be in hearts and open minds to continue the work that has been started. We ask blessings, and we ask that you continue to guide us. In Jesus' name, amen.
May I leave? I may just commend the police chief too, those children, that they were able to get them without an incident too. I mean, that's commendable as well too, that they were able to acquire them, and there's nothing else to add on to that news story, so thank you guys for your great police in the process too.
So I'm gonna ask Kevin Johnson and his team to come up here. So Kevin and his team is from ShotSpotter. So one thing that we started doing this year is we've been getting a lot of question on ShotSpotter. So we started looking at reevaluating ShotSpotter and saying, are we where we need to be? And so we had a meeting several weeks ago with ShotSpotter and kind of explained what we were doing, and that's when they brought up this data for good. And as soon as they started talking, the chief looked at me and we automatically knew that that's exactly what was gonna fit what we were trying to do here. So I'm gonna let him introduce his team and what that program is for. So, Kevin.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Good morning. Kevin Johnson. I'm with ShotSpotter. I am a customer success director with the company. I've been there almost 3 years. Prior to that, I spent 30 years with the Chicago Police Department. I retired as rank of deputy chief with the department. I was in charge of our community policing strategy, our training academy, and I was a commander of one of the districts back in 2017 where they onboarded ShotSpotter in Chicago. I'll introduce my colleagues. Rivers.
Well, I'll go first, since I'm closer to the mic. Paul John, Director of Community Engagement with ShotSpotter, previously Manager of Direct Mayoral Engagement at Everytown for Gun Safety for the past decade, but also volunteered for various community accountability organizations. So I really try to use my background in gun violence prevention and police accountability and bring them together at my role here at ShotSpotter.
Thank you. Alfred Lewis Jr. Can everybody hear me, or do I need to get behind the microphone? Great, thank you. When I was 6 years old, I knew that I wanted to be the police. So at 6 years old, I determined what my career path was going to be. I joined the United States Army at 18, did 3 years in the Army. I retired from the Fort Lauderdale Police Department as a lieutenant 17 years ago. And I was the first person hired at Miami Gardens Police Department to help them build that agency from scratch. I retired as the Assistant Chief of Police. And I was at the Police Foundation out of Washington, D.C. I did collaborative reform initiatives, critical incidents, and research under the authority of the Department of Justice. And then I've been with ShotSpotter for about 6 years. Started the Customer Success Department, and I recently come into the role as Senior Director of Trauma Response and Customer Success. I am passionate about what we do. One of the things that someone asked was, were those children African American? And most of us assumed that they were. But one of the things that I wish that I knew when I was a younger police officer, I really wish that I knew that there were things that have been done historically in underserved communities that have us at this point. And there are professionals in this room who are very aware of adverse childhood experiences that alter the youth mind, gives them increased incidence of being at a heightened sense of awareness, being impacted by alcohol and drug abuse, or more likely to have issues with alcohol and drug abuse, and then rolling into a dual diagnosis scenario where they also have mental health issues, anxiety, depression, so much tied to what has happened in communities of color over a period of time. So what we're seeing, I'm now not surprised with the knowledge that I had. I wish I had that when I was a younger police officer, because I would have policed very differently. So over the last 15 years, my emphasis has changed. I've been very passionate about community engagement and understanding that other things have got to be done. At ShotSpotter, we're paying attention to the root causes to what is occurring in communities that have been historically underserved. And we formalized it recently in our Data for Good initiative. We have more data at ShotSpotter than any other entity in the world as it pertains to gunfire activity. And I'm not talking about just gunfire that occurred over the last 24 hours, the last 3 days, or the last 7 days. I'm talking about the fact that we have the ability to produce, our customers now have the ability to produce on the fly temporal grids where they know the day of the week, the days of the week, the hours of the day, and repeat gunfire location where gunfire is occurring. So, what are they doing with that data? Most of the time it's sitting in a web-based application, and we're using it for guns and badges responses, which is of critical importance. You gotta have the guns, you gotta have the badges, you gotta find those serial trigger pullers, you gotta respond to those immediate gunfire events, render aid, get medical care, all of those things to save lives. But at the same time, we need to start being purposeful about bringing together stakeholders like everybody in this room. There's 50 people in this room who are stakeholders who, when we start working together with precision on where gunfire events are occurring, it changes the narrative. It has taken us decades, if not generations, to get to where we are, and it's gonna take us a little while to reverse that trend. And that's what we're hoping to do with everyone in this room. Before I go any further, I wanna thank the mayor and the chief for the fact that they are aware of this, and they said, we want to be a part of this. We want to institutionalize this within Peoria, as opposed to it just being something that we're doing for the cameras or the gram. We're doing it because it's the right thing. If you have any questions as I'm sharing information with you, or Paul is sharing information with you, please ask those questions. Make us respectful of your time. Let us know how long we have. If we're running out of time, let us know.
10:30.
Okay.
So 10:30 is the clock's back there.
Great. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna share information for those of you who may not be aware of how ShotSpotter works. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna share with you where ShotSpotter is. We're gonna share with you the gunfire activity over the last 7 days. Then we're gonna go into the Data for Good presentation. Is that all right? Thank you very much.
A gun is fired somewhere in your city. So what happens now? In the past, there was a slim chance the shooting would be reported to police at all. Even when it was, it took precious time, and there was often confusion.
Yes, please, thank you.
Confusion regarding the location of the shooting and other pertinent information. At least that's how things were. ShotSpotter has changed all that. By utilizing advanced technology honed over 2 decades, we have automated the process. We monitor gunfire activity 24/7. So if a gun is fired in any area within ShotSpotter coverage, the system detects, locates, and immediately alerts police of the gunshot. So how does it work? It starts with acoustic sensors that are placed on buildings or lampposts throughout a neighborhood. If a gun is fired anywhere in the area, multiple sensors detect and timestamp the sound. The precise location of the gunshot is determined based on the amount of time it takes for the sound of the gunshot to travel to each individual sensor, effectively triangulating the sound. The exact location of the detected gunshot is indicated by a dot on a map. Once an alert is generated, it is immediately sent to our IRC, or Incident Review Center, where trained acoustic experts then analyze each incident in mere seconds, determining if the sound is gunfire. ShotSpotter acoustic analysts receive extensive training on reviewing and classifying gunfire by distinguishing gunshots from other impulsive sounds that are not gunshots. In addition, they are trained to append additional contextual information, such as multiple shooter alerts or full automatic weapons alerts, that can prove to be essential tactical intelligence for law enforcement agencies responding to these crimes. The entire transaction takes place in less than 60 seconds. With the real-time ShotSpotter alerts, police can immediately be dispatched to the scene. Utilizing the gunfire audio clip and tactical information, officers can approach an exact location quickly and safely to engage the shooter, interview witnesses, and collect key evidence at the crime scene. ShotSpotter's Respond app enables patrol officers to receive real-time alerts quickly and effectively in their patrol car, on MDTs, or on the go on their smartphones. The ShotSpotter alert system is used in more than 100 cities and is an invaluable tool to help make communities safer by responding to gunshot incidents faster, making it easy to find evidence and reducing risk for police officers.
So that's how ShotSpotter works. It is, like I said, the officers are getting this information in 30 to 45 seconds. And that gives them an opportunity to respond and find those active shooting scenarios, to find victims of crime, and to actually make a difference and change people's behavior, connect with the community, collect shell casings. So that's fine for your immediate response. So there's a 6 square mile coverage area, and the department is very transparent. One of the things that we will not do, we will not divulge the coverage area. It's always up to the city if they want to share with their public. And so this is the actual coverage area. So what you're looking at right now is this is our Insight application. This is the historical repository of gunfire information. This is the tool that the department has, whether it's supervisors, your crime analysis unit, the communication center. They can go in here and they can say, hey, I want to see the gunfire that's occurred on a specific date at a specific time, do a polygon or circle around an area, all those things. They can do reports on the year-over-year increase or decrease in ShotSpotter alerts as well as rounds fired. All of those things, they can do it right here. So if you're looking right here over the last 7 days, and the question is ShotSpotter in the right place? As I look right here, I see that there's been, over the last 7 days, from March the 3rd to March the 10th at 09:34 and 42 seconds, there's been 18 incidents where 109 rounds were fired. This is an anomaly with that 70-round incident that just occurred. But you can see right here that you have, I would say it's definitely in the right area, but there's additional information that's in the background that would give you a broader picture. One of the things that we give you the gunfire activity of up to 100 meters outside of that entire perimeter of that coverage area. But ShotSpotter is also capturing gunfire activity that's outside of that area that would be either suppressed or dismissed, because the further it gets away from the coverage area, we can't, number one, be assured of its accuracy, because that area further away is not set up for the gunshot detection. And then we're not contractually obligated to give it to you. So we want to make sure that we are giving everything that we say that we're going to give to you and more, but we want to be accurate with it. So we can see in the background a lot more gunfire is occurring.